So I've been seeing a lot of talk about how Coachella was such a mess this year. It was such a big pile of mess and I've also seen a lot of talk of like, oh my god, Coachella was so fun. I've seen a lot of pictures of everyone looking so pretty. And honestly, I'm just like, damn, this is the first time I've ever really felt left out of Coachella. But now I know a lot of really cool people who go to Coachella, and I'm just like, damn, like that would have been so fun. But then there's also a lot of people saying Coachella was such a mess. I mean, Coachella had to reschedule twice because of the pandemic. This is the first Coachella since before the pandemic. So this year was gonna be something, either way. This is the Coachella's big comeback. Some people thought it was gonna be huge, super fun, so exciting because everyone's so hyped to freaking get back on Coachella. All the shows are coming back, live music is coming back. We all missed it so much. So it's gonna be freaking awesome. I don't know why I just flipped the bird. Sorry. And other people purposely skipped this year because they thought it was going to be so unorganized and chaotic because it's the first Coachella in 2 years. But all this buzz really got me thinking, has Coachella ever been organized? Was it always as pretty and cool and dreamy as it's been made to seem on Instagram for all these years? This year's Coachella, may I note, is the first Coachella ever to happen, not only since the pandemic, but since the rise in popularity of TikTok. So now we're seeing a different perspective. But before we get into it, first I just wanted to say thank you so much for subscribing to Songpsych. We just hit 100 effing K. We got the YouTube plaque, except it's over there, and I'm not gonna get it. Thank you so much. That's so cool. I actually just can't believe that there's 100,000 of you that think I'm awesome. Best friends forever. Before we get into all of the dirt, let's start off with some positive things about Coachella. Why in the hell not? It's not all bad. Clearly people keep going. I wasn't at Coachella, but I saw so many snippets of like incredible performances. Billie Eilish, I mean, she's always incredible at performing, but her Coachella set looked amazing. Phoebe Bridgers, I mean, another one that's just so incredible. Her set looked amazing. Blue to Tiger was at Coachella. That's really cool. It's so cool to see someone who came up on social media. I mean, she'd been in the music scene before, obviously, and played live shows before, but it's just cool because now she does her solo stuff and she's so good, and she played Coachella. That's awesome. Jean Dawson played Coachella. Love Jean Dawson. I'm just so excited for those people. Harry Styles played Coachella. I mean, Harry Styles is cool. I love his new song. Doja Cat and Rico Nasty's performance also looks so fun. It's so cool that they're friends because I love both of them so much. And there were so many surprise guests. I don't know if this happens every year at Coachella, like surprise guests, but there was a ton of them. So I thought that was cool. It's like, oh, surprise, best friends. Yay. There's a lot of incredible people that performed at Coachella, and that's awesome. I'm huge fans of a lot of people that were on the lineup, so, you know, I'm glad they got to do that. So now let's get into the drama, and let's start out with the lineup complications. So Travis Scott was kicked out of the lineup a while ago because of the Astroworld disaster, and then Kanye West was set to replace him, and then Kanye West dropped out a couple weeks before, so then Coachella got The Weeknd and Swedish House Mafia to replace Kanye. But then The Weeknd was pissed because Coachella was trying to offer The Weeknd like millions less than what they were going to offer Kanye. So then he was like, no, pay me what you're going to pay Kanye and I'll do it. I mean, even though it was like half of the length of a set because he had to share it with Swedish House Mafia, at least that's how I understood it, they're asking him to do this so last minute. Like so last minute. So I think that's fair, you know, even though he's playing not an entire massive set like as long as what Kanye would have played. He had to gather all that together like really quickly. He was not going to play Coachella until a couple weeks before Coachella. That's a lot to ask of someone, so I think that's fair. Like, give him what he deserved. Give him what you were going to pay Kanye. And then there was what happened with Joji, where Joji had a health complication in the middle of his set. I mean, he's talked about having a neurological disorder before. No one really knows exactly what happened, I guess, except for the people that were on the stage, but there's been people saying that he had a seizure. Like, he had to get off stage because he had a seizure in the middle of his set, and then he felt like he had to go back out and finish his performance. I don't know who was putting that pressure on him. I don't know if it was 88 Rising. I don't know if it was Coachella itself, but some higher up said, you have to go out there and finish your set. Maybe it was Joji, but I doubt it. He literally had a seizure, allegedly. He literally had a health complication that was serious enough to make him get off stage in the middle of his set. And even Joji's fans were like not really thrilled to see him come back on, not because they didn't want to see Joji, but because he needed to rest. Like he wasn't feeling well, and for some reason he felt like he had to resume his performance. I don't know whose fault that is. I don't know if Joji actually was determined to go back out. I don't know if it was pressure from Coachella to finish his set, but if Coachella had anything to do with making him go out there and finish it, and if it was against his will, that sucks. And to top it all off, freaking 100 Gex set got cut short. During Money Machine?
Really?
Are you out of your mind? That's like their magnum opus. And you're gonna cut them short in the middle of Money Machine. That's pathetic. Honestly, that is where I draw the line. Seriously though, like that sucks. Like it's so cool that 100gecs got to perform at a festival like this and their set got cut short. Like that's just not cool. I don't understand why. And that brings me to the logistics of a music festival. The logistics. I saw this TikTok of this guy who had a really interesting perspective on what I touched on earlier about how this is the first Coachella since TikTok became a major player in social media.
Something that I think that TikTok is doing that Instagram never was able to do was it kind of broke that fourth wall. So on Instagram, you would see all of these influencers posting their beautiful filtered photos from Coachella. They're in the middle of the desert without a bead of sweat dripping down their face. But then enters TikTok, and everyone on TikTok is like, "This is the shit that goes down. This. I've been waiting to pick up your credentials. You can't even get your credentials." I saw someone post a survival guide for Coachella. Why are we What are we surviving? This is a music festival. Needless to say, you will never catch me at Coachella.
Like, he's so right, you know? On Instagram, we see all these influencers getting sponsored by SeatGeek. Thank you so much, SeatGeek, for sending me to Coachella. But then you go on TikTok and you see all these people who aren't massive influencers getting so scammed by SeatGeek. And then you click on the comments and all of the comments are like, yeah, I got scammed too. I got scammed too. How is SeatGeek still running? This TikTok user, Ablin, called out SeatGeek and recounted her entire experience attempting to use a ticket she claimed was bought from the site. She purchased the wristband through someone who got it through SeatGeek. And she said she knew this person personally, like they were friends, you know? And then the wristband turned out to be fake. How are you gonna take influencers to Coachella for free, but then scam people who are paying customers? That's not even the worst of SeatGeek. We're not gonna get on a SeatGeek tangent. This is about Coachella. But SeatGeek literally took away its money back guarantee when there were all of these cancellations of shows at the rise of coronavirus. Like people had to cancel because we were in a pandemic, and then SeatGeek was like, sorry, can't get your money back. All right. Like what? Anyway, back to Coachella. That's just like my point is that like Instagram, you see, oh, thank you, SeatGeek, like not a drop of sweat on these people's faces. They look beautiful at Coachella, like ready to go walk the runway. And then you go on TikTok and you see all these sweaty people crying, losing their phones, not being able to get their like stuff to be able to camp there and getting scammed by SeatGeek. Interesting. Anyway, other messy aspects of Coachella that people have been talking about is, for one, the food. Overpriced, like not great food is nothing exclusive to Coachella. Music festivals in general do that since Woodstock 99 and like before that. You're gonna be paying $25 for food. That sucks. But I mean, people were still not happy about it. A fake chicken sandwich at Coachella was $25. And there were only 3 menu options at each like food place. And the food trucks had like hours and hours of long lines apparently. So apparently everyone gets free water at Coachella, but you can get $2 bottled water. That's fine, I guess. I'm sure the free water lines are like through the roof, so then you have to buy the $2 water. But I don't know, I'm not gonna speculate. I wasn't there. I'm just talking about what I heard. People also had stuff to say about the indoor stages. The Sonora and the Yuma tent were apparently cluster. Apparently a ton of punk and hard rock bands at the Sonora tent were having huge audio problems. And considering there's not like a ton of rock at Coachella and punk and stuff in general, this kind of sucks, you know? It's like you couldn't get this right for the people you have that are here for those types of acts. But then you have the Yuma tent that only had one entrance and one exit with lines of people wrapping around those entrances and exits waiting to see this stage's biggest acts. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Really? Only one entrance and one exit to block everything else off? What does that solve? And a lot of festival goers felt the same way because by Friday night, people had already torn down the barriers. This is nothing new to this specific year of Coachella, but there was a lot of intense dust and windstorms. And this year, I guess we can also talk about the COVID protocol. On February 15th, Coachella changed its health and safety guidelines on its website. No one was required to wear masks. No one was required to be vaccinated. No one had to show a negative COVID test. Granted, this was after all of the restrictions on California were lifted. Like, I don't think you have to wear a mask in California or show vaccination for most places anyway. I mean, some businesses still choose to make you show it and stuff and wear a mask, but I think it's just recommended and not required. I don't know. I still think even though it's not required, it would still be nice if they would have, you know, asked people to be vaccinated or like provide a negative COVID test. At least wear a mask. I mean, you're in the desert. It's like hundreds of degrees. I can understand, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like it's not the safest idea. It just seems like it would result in like a rise of cases. And after its first week, the Coachella Valley reported 193 new cases, which is a 77% increase from the previous week. I mean, the main reason I feel like that kind of sucks is because it's not like people don't just live in that area, you know? Like, Coachella Valley isn't just this, like, desolate place that people come to for Coachella and then leave and then no one's there for the rest of the year, you know? Like, there's locals there that don't really have to worry about massive outbreaks of disease like this, you know? I don't know what the hospital situation is, but if they're in the middle of the desert and their population isn't as big as, say, the hundreds of thousands of people that are coming to Coachella, that kind of sucks that, like, a bunch of people are rushing in for Coachella, not taking any safety measures, leaving, and then all the locals are left with, like, a ton of new cases. I don't know. I mean, personally, I just don't know enough about the hospital structure of this area, but, you know, it kind of sucks that a bunch of people are rushing in, being irresponsible, going out without masks and stuff, and then all the locals of that area are, like, getting sick. It's not that cool. And besides the COVID stuff, obviously, for Coachella this year, are any of these problems really new? And are any of them totally exclusive to Coachella? I think it would be interesting to talk about the history of Coachella, how it even started. Apparently, the first year of Coachella was horrible financially. In 1999, there was between 17,000 and 20,000 people who went to this festival, which is small compared to the amount of people that go now. This festival in 1999 cost Golden Voice $1 million. They lost a ton of money in their first year. Like, they did not make that money back. They didn't do one in 2000, but Coachella came back in 2001, and the only time it sold out was in 2004. And after years, it only actually became profitable in 2005. You're probably wondering, Devin, what the hell happened? Why did it become popular? And why? Madonna performed in 2006. And starting in 2007, Paris Hilton started to become a regular attendee at the Coachella festivals. Then other celebrities started coming to Coachella and were followed by tons of paparazzi. In 2011, YouTube started to stream Coachella performances. And now, instead of people that are just super obsessed with the acts that are playing, it's just a mass appeal of people who might not even care about most of the artists on the lineup, but just want to go for, like, the social aspect of it. I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting that Coachella started out as, like, this underground, like, indie cool thing that, like, no one really knew about. And then now it's, like, huge. Like, A-lister mainstream artists are playing at this place and hundreds of thousands of people are going. Do I think it's a bad thing that a lot of people are going and don't really care about the music? I think for the musicians, like, it's not great, but I mean, hey, like, who am I to judge what these people do with their money? If you want to spend $1,000 to just go roll around in the desert sand and you don't care about the music that's playing, okay, that's fine. So that's the history of Coachella. It got off on a pretty unsuccessful foot and it wasn't profitable for years. And speaking of more miscalculations on Coachella's end, in 2013, Stone Roses was a headliner, but no one really knew who they were because, like, they're British, I guess. Like, I don't know. So it's just like, oh, Coachella this year. For the people who do care about the music, it was just like, who are these people, I guess? I don't know. I've honestly never listened to Stone Roses, but Coachella also has a history of just blatant cultural appropriation amongst festival goers, and then they do nothing to enforce against it. I don't know if this happened this year, but at least in many past years, some people who've went to Coachella would arrive at the festival wearing traditional American Indian headdresses, like basically as if this is a costume. Like, they wouldn't wear this anywhere else. Headdresses like this aren't really meant to be worn like that, like a little accessory. Like, they have pretty deep spiritual significance, and it kind of just, like, promotes stereotyping native cultures. Well, not kind of, it like does. But rather than banning these trends, Coachella doesn't do anything. And in fact, they offer a $2,200 teepee tent that you can rent at the festival. Like, what? And it's not like, oh, Coachella didn't ban it. Well, no music festival has banned this stuff. Coachella, I feel like, doesn't really have an excuse to not ban stuff like this. I feel like that's the least they could do, is to just be like, hey, don't wear that, maybe? Like, Osheaga in Montreal banned that. They had no problem doing that. Not that much to ask. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty shitty. I don't know if they're still doing that. And something that really broke my heart was reading about how security guards at Coachella are treated. I'm mainly going to be reading from the written account of Antonio Kennedy. He worked Coachella as a security guard in 2019. So I went down there and applied, and then we had this little quick orientation. It wasn't much of an an interview. It was like a cattle call because we go inside this room and everyone's standing up. It's hot, we're all sweating, but they talked it up like, it's Coachella, this big music festival. And they were like, yeah, it's gonna be like camping, so bring a tent and a sleeping bag or whatever. Fast forward a few weeks later, and I'm at the BMW nationwide security loading into a bus with about 35 people, all people of color. After a 4-hour bus ride, his report continued, we all unloaded our luggage and checked in with the reps for the Staff Pro, one of the main security companies contracted by Golden Voice, a subsidiary of AEG, who provided us with a 1-page document basically giving us instructions on how to not die from heat stroke. We were all ushered into a large, smelly, humid tent floored with grass, which I soon learned was a major upgrade. I was told by other security guards with previous years' experience at Coachella that the entire campground was nothing more than a clay-like dirt, and that's what they all slept on. That's just part of his statement. He also talked about how people who are taking these jobs, like, not everyone can afford to invest in a tent, invest in a sleeping bag or an air mattress, like bring their own food and stuff for 5 weeks. These people had to stay for 5 weeks. So you would think that because they had to live there for over a month, that this company would provide them with adequate housing, given that they had to, you know, maintain the safety of this massive event. You would think, right? No. Some people couldn't bring any air mattresses. Some people just brought a sleeping bag. Antonio talks about how these people who didn't come as prepared as the festival recommended were sleeping on the ground, shivering like a wet dog because the grass was like really cold and wet because the desert gets really cold at night. Coachella also didn't provide them with food, like at all. They only got one meal when they got there. What were they supposed to do until they got their first paycheck? They were getting paid like $12 an hour too, by the way. Like, are you serious? As he'd mentioned before, like the company he worked for was pretty much all people of color. And I think that's important to note because in his statement, he shows a picture of the lot that his company gave them. And then he shows a picture of a lot that a different security guard company had that was pretty much all white people. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. That's disgusting. Coachella in 2017 grossed $114 million and they can't be bothered to give these security guards better access to housing, to food for 5 weeks. That's just really sad. These festival goers can come, live in these types of conditions for a couple days and then go back home. These people have to stay there for weeks. I just think that really sucks that like all these rich kids are coming and like getting so turned up. I'm gonna get so crazy at Coachella. I'm so exhausted on the partying. And then these people have to live like in misery for 5 weeks. There will probably be people that are saying, well, they signed up for the job. Like it's their fault because they signed up for it. I don't think it's so ridiculous for these people to assume that they would be given humane conditions to live in for going to work somewhere for 5 weeks. I think it's pretty horrible. If you want to read the full statement, I'll link it in the description along with all the other sources that I got this information from. And going back to my point about how Coachella used to be this indie underground thing and now it's this huge commercialized event. Like I read this article where someone would talk to people that were going to Coachella and ask these people who's on the lineup, and 9 times out of 10 they would just be like, I don't know, I'm just going to Coachella. Like Coachella now is billed as so much more as just a music event. It's a fashion event, it's art, it's a place where all the celebrities go. And a lot of people who go to the concert, not everyone, there's obviously a lot of music fans that go to these concerts, but there are people that go to Coachella that don't care about the music. Like I think as an artist, it would be so cool to play a massive festival where there's a lot of people, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people who are going to care about the music. But like during Phoebe Bridgers' super emotional performance, there would literally be people just like talking like all the way through her songs. Like it even got to a point where people on Twitter were noticing how loud these people's conversations were through her microphone. Her microphone that's not meant to pick up the sound of the crowd, that's meant to pick up her voice. I don't know, that kind of sucks. For me personally, like if I got asked to play this huge massive festival and my music was as vulnerable as Phoebe Bridgers, I get up there, deliver this super emotional performance, and I'm treated like someone who's playing an open mic at a bar. That's just disrespectful to the musicians that are there. There's this really good analysis on the shift of Coachella culture by this TikToker. I'll just show you a snippet of it.
As Coachella weekend wraps up, I am reminded that manufacturing fun has become the gold standard of modern marketing. Coachella is like the perfect example of how capitalism sells us the promise of unforgettable experiences, community, and music, all under the guise of participating in capitalism. It is the vehicle and the destination is fun. Everything from the content farming to the brand new wardrobe purchased for this one specific weekend only, never to be worn again. The goal of festival culture is no longer about the music, like at all. That's a sidekick.
So you're probably wondering, why am I still talking? What's my point? What am I even trying to say? Well, I'm glad you asked. So in conclusion, how do I feel about Coachella now versus how I felt about it before making this video? Well, initially how I felt before this year, honestly, I didn't really care about Coachella because I'm from Pennsylvania and I didn't know anyone that went to Coachella, and my only impression of it was like the Cody Co video where he just roasted all the captions of people at Coachella using the word vibes. So honestly, growing up, I never really thought much of it. I thought it was kind of cringe. Like, I was just like, My Chemical Romance isn't playing? I don't give a shit. But this year, you know, now I have friends that are based in LA and like go to Coachella, and I have friends that played Coachella, and I'm just like, damn, that looks so fun. Like, that's so cool that everyone's going to this thing. And I've just never seen so many Instagram photos of people I know at Coachella looking like so cool and pretty, and like they're having so much fun. Honestly, this year I was like, damn, you know, maybe Coachella would have been fun to go to. Then I looked at how expensive Coachella is. Holy shit, guys. Like, I guess I just didn't realize, but because I've only been to like one music festival my whole life, like Made in America in 2017. It was like $180. And that to me was like, holy shit, this is breaking my bank. This is expensive. Guys, general admission for 3 days, $549 without the fees. If you want to not have to walk all the way to the festival from the parking, $633 plus fees. A VIP ticket to Coachella, $1,100. And that's not even like, you think, oh yeah, you can have access to the camping grounds. Well, guess what? You have to pay for camping passes too. You have to also pay for parking. Yeah, these tickets, they give you access, but they don't pay for the parking. They don't pay for the camping. You have to buy these things too. And that's for people who are camping there. Like, from what I've understood, a lot of people just get an Airbnb and go to and from the festival. I don't know if that's actually what people do, but I feel like that would just be like a comfortable way to do it. This is so crazy. It's so expensive. And it's cool because it's like, it makes sense that it's so expensive. It's a huge thing to throw. You have to get all these huge artists to play. Like, you're seeing all these people in one spot. It's like Costco, but for music. So I get it, but I don't know. Festivals in general are kind of stressful, to me at least. My one festival experience, I left early like twice because I was so exhausted and dehydrated. And that was in high school. I don't know, like, I kind of just feel iffy about festivals in general. I haven't been to one in so long, so it's just like, you know, take my opinion with a grain of salt. Like, I'd rather just go to a 100 Gex concert. I'd rather just go to a Billy concert, at least for how much I can handle. I don't really know if I would want to sleep in a desert for 3 nights and spend that type of money. And yeah, that's not even including how much it would cost to like survive there and like eat food and drink water. I mean, I think it would be cool to like play a festival just because it would be cool to see your name on a festival poster. But after just reading about all the logistical issues, how security guards are treated, really, the people that are supposed to keep this place safe are made to sleep on the floor. They're not even given food. Like, all the wind storms, all the things you have to know about putting your tent down correctly, people's phones getting stolen and stuff like that. It kind of just sounds really stressful. Also, just thinking about like in terms of if everyone's staying for this headliner, there's hundreds of thousands of people staying to watch the headliner show. They're all gonna leave at the same time. Either you leave early and miss the headliners, or you leave with everyone else and you have to wait hours for an Uber, pay like hundreds of dollars to get out of there. How do you get out of there? That just seems so stressful too. I don't know if I would want to go to Coachella unless I was a VIP of some sort. Do I think that's a thing exclusive to Coachella? I don't know. I don't really go to that many festivals, honestly, mainly because I've never really been able to afford them. Like, Made in America was massive that I could pay for that in high school, but like, I just haven't really gone to that many. I will say I'm going to Primavera Sound LA in September because I got a free ticket. We'll see what my experience is like. Maybe it'll be really fun and awesome. I guess my biggest conclusion that I want to make in this video is that if you had any FOMO of not being able to go to Coachella this year, I did too. But now, after reading about the negatives of Coachella and just festivals in general, I don't really care that I didn't go, because my impression was like Instagram, and then I started looking at TikTok and like reading articles about how Coachella is run, and I don't really have FOMO anymore. I really don't. I'm filming this video before the other Coachella weekends. This is literally after just the first weekend. If you're watching this and you feel bad about not going to Coachella, I wouldn't if I were you. Everything happens for a reason. Hey. I just think festivals in general should be run better. Hot take. I know. How do we do that? Great question. Let me know what you think. Did you go to Coachella Coachella. Have you ever been to Coachella? How do you feel about it? Do you go to music festivals in general? What's your experience like? I would love to know. Tell me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. If you made it all the way here, that's crazy. You're crazy for that.